inside the star before and after. Before it was shh, or before it was we call on the international community to look into, and then we have the ellipses, right? We call on the international community to look into various issues as far as politics is concerned. But now it is, you have to be mealy-mouthed, don't infringe on our local politics. Let's just discuss this, Professor Gitila Naituli, because previously also we've seen the Principal Secretary from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Churchill Suba, calling on the envoys to actually adhere to the principle of non-interference. So what was happening here?
I think what's happening is the former Prime Minister is right when they comment on areas in our country, when our foreign envoy comments on areas where there is contestation, because now they are choosing to take sides within that contest. That is interference. But also, I mean, people don't forget the history of America. America always has supported dictators in Africa. They have never really supported democracy here. It is the Americans who probed Mobutu Sese Seko in Zaire for many years, and he was really a very bad dictator. America, even in Kenya here, Kenyatta first, and more before they turned against him, because he turned against them. So the story of America in Africa is not very good. It's not glorious. They have not been very supportive of democracy. So here for them, if they want to assist that, to nurture our democracy because it's growing, then they have to be very careful on what they comment on. They can do it behind the scenes, behind the door, because you expect the support from friendly nations who work with us. But if they interfere, there's a negotiation going on right now, okay? So these fellows, America is still a superpower. The people negotiating can take you from us, say, okay, remove this for negotiation. Even the Americans think that we did a fantastic election. So that is interference. I just agree. Now, previously when Raila is calling for international community to intervene, there are certain things like the violence we meant on each other. Surely you can't fault him for asking the international community to take a look at it, because the international community this time will imply ICC, international organizations that has an overlapping jurisdiction with our country, okay? So the ambassador, what I didn't get though is she said Kenya is a promising democracy, and that is correct. Kenya is a promising democracy. I don't know what is wrong with that. Then he said that it is a good country for investment. That is also correct. So I'm still trying to look at what she said, which is inappropriate.
Well, you can actually grab a copy of it, because also a credible election, I think that has been a contentious issue.
That's a contentious issue. She should never have gone into electioneering, into our election, because clearly there is contestation.
There is still contestation, and the dialogue is all about it as well.
First of all, this is not the first time the U.S. ambassador is speaking. Is giving the 2022 elections the cleanest bill of health. You remember when she hosted the American Chamber of Commerce and Industry, she used the same words, and even went further to shower the president with praise. She described President Ruto as strong and one who is easy to work with and gets things done. But we also remember that, the same ambassador led colleagues from European countries to Honorable Kalonzo's house, pleading for dialogue. Kalonzo is on record that the U.S. ambassador is among the many diplomats who crisscrossed this city, trying to reach out to both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, to start dialoguing on some of these issues. And she knows very well that the issue of the 2022 elections is top on the agenda of Azimio. That, Azimio has, called for audit of those elections. Now, for her to, again, just a few days as things are getting done, Parliament has just approved a motion to secure the process and make such, very ostentatious comments is, my view, a bit careless, bordering on lack of caution, because I think the U.S. ambassador ought to constantly remember that she's first and foremost a diplomat. But I think anytime she wants to advance the business interest of America and Americans, she gets carried away, because it is the second time, and you could see how lucrative the opportunity with the 47 county governments. She was seeing that as an opportunity. The same context was there when she was hosting the American Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So she seems to get carried away anytime she sees what she considers to be enormous business opportunity, and forgets that she is a diplomat. And I think that is maybe a personal strength or weakness. Of course, we know her profile when she was appointed is that she's not a career diplomat. Yes, she was brought in to advance the commercial interest of America, to displace China. I don't know how that will work, but maybe this is a way of, displacing China from the entrenched position in all manner of contracts, in construction and so on. But I think at this time, for me, the timing of her remark, and you remember, Dibal, we have had instances where, protesters have been beaten senseless. We have never had, usually the American embassy would lead in condemnation of such, excesses of authorities. We never had that. You remember when, a journalist was pushed downstairs in the courts of law. We never had America. But when we had the Secretary for Trade, you remember the Secretary for Trade who refused to meet her counterpart, Moses Kuria. She spoke as the bearer of the vision for the world that America has always stood for. When she was asked what her views were about demonstration, she said people have a right to express themselves, including through demonstrations. And the fact that, she refused to meet her counterpart, whose loose tongue about demonstrators had, gotten him into trouble, is an indication that it is not the ambassador, but the Secretary of Trade who actually spoke and articulated the vision for which America has been known over the years.
Thank you.
And so I think the opposition was just getting concerned that this is not the first time that, she's making such, blanket statements at a time when, issues of audit of the 2022 elections are still on the card. If you asked any Kenyan outside here, Kenyans will tell you it is the 2002 elections that were credible.
Right.
And I think the ambassador arrived 4 days to the polls. I doubt whether she has the full information about the entire process to warrant the kind of comments that she made.
She arrived 4 days to the polls.
Yes, she presented her credentials on 5th.
On 5th
of August. That's when she was cleared to the president.
But I saw the ambassador as well making a press briefing regarding the preparations of the IBC. And to me, it also took me by surprise that we have a new envoy, and she's actually also speaking very movingly or quite authoritatively on the preparations of IBC. And that was just after presenting her credentials.
On 5th, 4 days to the polls.
Well, let me just hear from Dr. Isaac Green. First of all, on this particular podium in Eldoret, do you think that would have been the nice, wisest of fashion to maybe make comments regarding elections, or she should have actually avoided it completely? Let me just hear from you.
Unlike my colleagues, I had the opportunity to hear, to listen the message very clearly from beginning to the end of the Honorable Ambassador Meg And looking back at what was happening and the presentation that she made, it was one of the most inspiring statements that has ever been made. She spoke Kenya. She presented Kenya to the world. She presented Kenya to us, because there are times that we also forget ourselves. And I think it was such a great reminder. And she did the job very well. Ambassador Meg is a successful corporate leader, a person who is not here for the job, a person who is here to enhance relationships between our two countries, just like any ambassador would be able to do without necessarily looking at which country. The position of an ambassador, and particularly that of America and all the other nations, is a very complicated situation. And a position that you have to consider so many things, and anything that you say is very important for the specific moment. We are talking of a situation where a country like America needs to enhance. There are opportunities that must be opened for great investors. No wonder you have been seeing investors coming in from America, coming to meet His Excellency the President, because Kenya contains opportunities that are mind-boggling, big enough for the entire world, looking at figures of what is expected of Africa in the near future. So there's a lot of balancing that needs to be done. And I believe that the statement she made, looking at the beginning to the end of what she said, it was clearly in perspective of the legal position of our country. We entered into an election. Every procedure was followed, and we ended up with the Supreme Court judgment and validating the process as it were. If there are other issues, it is not for the ambassador at our position that there is contestation. There will always be a contestation in most elections, as it has always been. And I believe that what she talked about is a legal position, is the common position, and beyond what she may not have. And therefore, I believe it was definitely in good faith. And the fact that the former Prime Minister has raised an issue on that, it may have been very hard. Of course, as a diplomat, it is you need to be careful how you present. The way it was presented was good enough, but there must be a justification for everybody. Politics is politics. You must justify your position, whether on president or whether in the opposition. And I believe it's not a cause for so much alarm that we may be bringing up. Meg mentioned what she did in good faith, based on the legal position, based on the constitution of the Republic of Kenya. The contestation may be there. I believe it is going to be dealt with out of a different process and forum. What she did was to bring and represent Kenya to us, that we actually realize that we have indeed a great nation, one that has got potential, one that we need to be very careful so that we can change the lives of our people if we are careful in that process. So I hold a personal position that we must not be as hard as we are thinking. There is nothing wrong that Ambassador Meg would have said, and I'm sure she will be able to come out and justify the same in a different way and forum. I give it up to her, based on what she did end to end, looking at what was presented and what we need. And the discussion, I believe, is a matter of what discussion do we have as a nation that is going to take us to the next level. That is what we need to do. We need to look at the positive side of things.
Right, time ticking up to 7 o'clock on the nose. So when we circle back, of course, we shall pick the brains of Herman Manyora on the